Hey guys, how's it going? This video here is the beginning of the fantastic review for the biology EOC. How I have designed this review is basically if you do everything that I ask you to do and you bust your buns this week, you are going to kick butt on that test. So it's all kind of a matter of what you want to do. You can either not do anything, which a lot of you are, or you can continue to work very hard, and this will definitely show. Okay, so let me kind of explain all the materials that you've gotten. You should have received, or you should have, the EOC review materials for today. All right, so just to kind of show you how everything works, I'm going to click over here first, okay? Everybody see here on the side on my wiki page where it has EOC. These are also going to be, I guess you can say, virtual links to everything that you guys have, just in case you don't know what's going on. All right. So, for example, today you should have gotten your first one's the EOC Review 1 and 2. Depends on what class you are as far as what we're doing. Okay. So, if you guys click on that, and actually I already did that for you, everybody grab this sheet right here. You should have this in a folder. You should have a folder. What I would recommend is write your name on that folder and put EOC review on that folder and put nothing else in it except for these review materials. If you put your other school stuff inside of there, it's going to get very confusing. Okay, like I said, this review has been huge, okay, as far as student success on this test. All right, so this is just some kind of no-brainer stuff right here. I'm not going to get into that so much because we're expanding our review over the course of several days. All right. So basically what I've done is, if you guys take a look at this area right here that I am circling, okay, right here, okay, what I've done for you is that I've went ahead and I've summarized all of your notes, okay? So when working through some of the stuff, you might have to go back and look at your notes, okay, to kind of help you out with things, but I've summarized it. So you got this right here, all right? Underneath it, I have some stuff that you guys can work through. All right, so these are little things that you can work through over time. Okay, and here are some things that you can work through as well. All right, if you turn on the back of the first page right here, these are the actual objectives that are listed in the standard course of study that I've used to basically teach you guys. And here again, I've summarized everything for you. Okay, so summary, 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 summary. All right, this right here are little things that you can go through and write things down again, a little bit of review for you. This is going to be fantastic because some of the stuff you haven't had in a while. All right, again, more review right here. So once you guys are done with all of this stuff right here, okay, what you're going to do is that you are going to turn to this very back page right here where you're going to have these questions, okay? Now you should have several other things, okay? Lots of stapled copies of test questions, okay? What those are, and I'm just going to call them up right here. The key thing for this, guys, is that it's easy to get confused with all these papers because there are so many. But here's the thing. Read titles, okay? It's all about titles, all right? So for this first one right here, if you notice it says North Carolina Ready End of Course Assessment Biology. Okay, if you look on your wiki, it's right here. But also, if you look through your materials that you should have, look, it says North Carolina Ready End of Course Assessment. Okay, so the key thing here again is to follow the titles. Okay, it says the same thing. All right, if you notice, I've only picked out certain numbers of questions. So the first question here is question 18. So what you're going to do is you're going to scroll on through this little packet here, and please don't do it right now, just listen, and find number 18. Well, if you notice, this is a question dealing with the material that you have just reviewed. Okay, so all of those questions that I have right here on this packet right here deal with the information that is in this particular review packet. Okay, so you go through and you answer those questions. The next thing, the ready extend to, if you look through your packets of papers, should look like this: ready NC extend to. All right, it's all about the titles. All right, the ones that get a little weird, North Carolina Test of Biology. If you look through your packet, you got, whoops. If you look through your packet, you got North Carolina Test of Biology, pow pow, okay? And then you have these weird things where I do old and new, okay? So goal 1, old, you really only have one goal 1, okay? So find the piece of paper, I wrote goal 1 with a Sharpie up there, okay? And then the goal 2, new, look for the Sharpie that says goal 2, new. If you can't, if you don't know what's what, if you come here to the wiki, it's right there for you, okay? So all of these questions deal with that, okay, with the information on this particular study guide right here, okay? The whole point of this review, guys, and the reason why it is so important that you guys focus through this is instead of just telling you guys for the EOC, hey, study biology, that's what you got to do for your EOC. What I'm trying to do here is with these focused EOC reviews is I'm trying to show you where your weak areas are. And that is why you have to take it serious. If you blow this off right here and you come here and you're like, oh crap, I don't care, C, 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 okay? Really the only person that you're hurting is you, all right? This is an opportunity to review the material, which also in this video, I have a PowerPoint that's gonna review pretty much everything on this as well. So you can go back and watch that, hear me teach it, and you know, use that however you would like, okay? So again, it is what you make of it, okay? This is where you guys make the decision as far as what you want to happen on this test, okay? You can't blame it on the situation here, all right? So this is where you got to step up and do what you can, okay? I will obviously give you the answers to all of these, but typically what I'll do is that I'm going to have you guys answer all of these questions and work through some of these things as well in class, okay? And again, if you do those, you're going to be a boss, all right? Literally a boss. Then I'll give you the answers the next day. Okay? Does that sound good? Okay. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and show you this one as well. Okay? Because if you cheat on this, again, that's your choice, and really there is no cheating on that. Let's say that, where am I getting the answers from? If you guys look on your wiki right here, if you do EOC review, all the answers are actually right here. Okay? Um, so all the answers are right there, and actually the answers to the multiple choice questions. Now, probably what some of you guys are thinking is you're thinking, heck yeah, I don't have to do anything in class. I can just sit back and watch movies like a lot of you guys have been doing. Yes, I know you've been watching movies. Again, that's your choice. All right. And if that's your choice, then I'll see you next semester in biology. Okay. Because I'm teaching all biology again. So you'll be stuck in there with me. So really, I'm telling you where the answers are. It's stupid if you go here and you copy it on here. I mean, that's just plain, that's probably the dumbest thing you could ever do. But if you really want to go and check your answers right away, if you can't wait to the next day, you can use these things, okay? I prefer that you wait to the next day and not look at this unless it's an emergency, okay? I can't say it enough, guys. This is where you guys make your own choices, okay? All right. Do I want to say anything else about that? No, I don't. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is this review is not going to be a whole lot of fun for you. If you would like, you can get a highlighter. Okay. Go grab a highlighter, pause the video, and kind of pick up with me. I'm going to start with the biochem stuff so you can highlight some stuff. But to be honest, you guys, more than likely you're going to highlight everything, okay? Or you can have a pen and pencil and write down some little notes off here to the side from my review. It's your call, or you can just sit and stare at the screen. I apologize that my little face is not up here. It's kind of boring just staring at a screen, but, you know, it's the best that I can do, okay? All right, so I think I said everything. I think I did. All right, just in case you are wondering what the schedule is, I'm just going to use Avid as an example. Everything is right up here, okay? So I'll have the review sheet, okay? I'm going to have this video linked up there, and I'll actually link the PowerPoint as well, okay? So you can kind of get a little bit of everything, all right? So it's your choice. I'm giving you all sorts of stuff, and I can't say this enough. You guys decide how you're going to handle this. And I have a feeling that some of you are going to handle it beautifully. And I have a very unfortunate feeling that a lot of you guys are going to blow this off, okay, and blame all this on me, which I find fascinating, okay? All right, you guys can do this. You're going to be fine, all right? Okay, so here we go. Let's review this. Like I said, it's not going to be very exciting. I'm going to talk really, really, really fast, okay, because we already have gone over this, okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about EOC review number 1. Okay, All right, we're going to talk about biochem and enzymes. I'm not going over scientific method, okay? If you guys remember, biochemistry is the chemistry of all living organisms, and basically what we're looking at here is we're looking at the basic elements of life. Anything that we're talking about in biology is built off of 6 elements, and hopefully you guys remember CHNOPS, okay? C stands for carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These are the 6 big boys that you're going to find in everything, okay? All right, now the combination of all these basic elements right here are going to make up 4 basic macromolecules. All right, the very first one is something called a carbohydrate. All right, so let's talk a little bit about a carbohydrate. You can take a look at this picture right here and see what your carbs are, okay, and what they make up, all that good stuff like that. Just kidding. We're going to go through all of them. My bad. Number 2 is going to be lipids. The third one's going to be proteins, and the fourth one is going to be nucleic acids. Okay, so let's talk a little bit before we get to that. Let's talk a little about monomers and polymers. Okay, mono means one, so that's one single unit, one single thing. Okay, like a single bead in a necklace. While a polymer is going to be all those beads together, so it's going to be all those units put together. So you're going to hear me talk about monomers and polymers. EOC loves the monomers for some of these things. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are also known as sugars and starches, okay? The main elements that you're going to have are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. I can't see them asking you to identify a carbohydrate structurally, okay? I'll tell you which one I know that they're going to ask you about, but just kind of know that they're made up of those things, okay? The key thing here is that the monomer of a carbohydrate is going to be a simple sugar or a monosaccharide, okay? Mono, gotta love that. All right, if you guys recall, these things are the things that diabetics take if they have low blood sugar because it's the simplest sugar. It's the easiest one for them to break down and get into their bloodstream. Okay. All right. We have several different types of carbohydrates. We have a monosaccharide, which is one sugar. The big one that we talked about a bunch was glucose. Okay, that was the queen of biology. Okay. If you notice, I didn't go over the other ones, but I'll get there. The indicator that we use for a monosaccharide is something called Benedict's solution. Okay, now this isn't actually in your review packet. You guys might want to jot this one down. I don't think I typed this one up. Benedict's is an indicator that you use for an unknown to see if it has a monosaccharide in it. Does anybody remember what color it changes? Remember we put it in the hot water bath, waited to see what color it changed. I was here for this one. Okay. If it's a positive test, it's actually going to turn several different colors. It can turn red, it can turn orange, it can turn yellow or green. The brighter the color for this one right here, if you notice it's glucose, it's red because, yeah, that's a monosaccharide, okay? Well, a potato is just going to have a few of those things inside of it, so therefore it's not going to be as bright, okay? All right, the next type of carbohydrate that we're going to have is something called a polysaccharide. A polysaccharide is made up of many sugars. Just one thing to point out here, if you remember when I talked about the diabetic taking that glucose, one single sugar can get absorbed into your bloodstream quickly. This is why if you have low blood sugar that you shouldn't eat like a cracker, okay? The reason why you should eat a cracker is because this is just like a cracker. This is a sugar, 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 sugar. It's many sugars attached together. So before it can get into your bloodstream, your body has to say pow, 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 break those babies down, then you can absorb it, okay, into these single things. So, you know, just random thing there. All right. So with the polysaccharides, we have several different types, okay? The very first one is something called cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide that we find in plants in their cell walls. If you recall, cell walls provide structure and support. How do they do that? Right in here is you actually have a sugar inside of there, a starch, okay, known as cellulose. We also can't digest this, all right? Cows can because they got fancy things inside of them that allow them to do that. All right, starch. Starch is going to be found in plants, okay, and we're going to kind of talk about what that does here in a second. All right, starch is basically going to be stored sugar. It's the good white mealy stuff that we love oh so very much, okay. Another type of a polysaccharide is going to be chitin. Chitin is found in fungus or mushrooms and also in insects, okay. This right here that you see, this is all chitin, all right. That fungus that you see on the side of my side table, it's really hard. You're feeling the chitin there, all right. That's a sugar. Okay, glycogen is going to be found in animals. All right, so those are all the things that's happening there. Okay, all right, so let's go over the functions of a carbohydrate. Okay, the most common thing that you guys are going to run into is that it's an immediate energy source. Okay, before games, before races, oftentimes people carb load. Okay, where they go and they just eat granola bars, they eat oatmeal, they eat things like that that you get inside of your body that your body can burn pretty quickly. Okay, because it's something that it recognizes. All right, look at these kids, woohoo, full of energy. All right. All right, the second one is that it can be stored energy, all right, where your body, if it doesn't use it, okay, it can actually store some of that away until it needs it again, all right. It's really kind of cool. Our body is one of the most amazing things ever, all right. So they're going to store what they don't use. The third one is that it can provide structure and support, okay, for certain plants and other organisms. Definitely not for us because our bones do that, but not everybody has bones, okay? So got to have something that allows that to happen, okay? Now to kind of go over these polysaccharides that I just talked about and throw in these functions, cellulose, as I told you before, is going to provide structure, okay? So that's one of those functions there. All right, starch is stored energy. All right, that's why it's not very good because it's a complex sugar and it gets stored inside of us. Okay, it takes us a long time to break down. Glycogen, again, is stored energy. So if you eat a bunch of oatmeal and you don't burn it right away, your body's actually going to store it away into your liver. All right, and it's going to tap into that whenever you need that energy. Okay, as I told you guys before, if you were to get lost in the woods, you would die of dehydration before you would die of not eating. You can actually fast for a long period of time. It doesn't feel very good, but your body can tap into all sorts of resources. Okay, chitin is going to be structure and support. So these things right here are actually going to be their skeleton, and I kind of said that a little bit earlier. Okay. All right, so since we're talking about polysaccharides, okay, this should have been a little bit earlier on. Sorry about this. When we talk about starch, we actually have an indicator for that one, and that's called iodine. All right, does anybody remember what color iodine changes in the presence of a starch? All right, basically all you had to do is add drops of the iodine and wait for a change. It actually turns black, okay? If you were to take some iodine and put it on your piece of paper in front of you, it would actually turn black because your paper is actually made up of some complex sugars, okay? All right, lipids. Let's talk about these guys. All right, at any point, if you need to take a break, just hit pause, stretch a little bit, because I know this isn't very exciting, and come back to that, okay? So lipids are going to be our fats, oils, and waxes, okay? The elements that are going to be present are going to be CH and O in high ratios. EOC is not going to ask you the difference between a carb and a lipid structurally, okay? So this is just kind of a reminder here, all right? Don't worry about the monomer and the polymer. I don't think that you need to know that, okay? The function of a lipid, probably the biggest one, is that it's a long-term energy source, okay? So big old fat kitty cat, all this right here, this is actually fat tissue, all right? And that is going to be an energy source as well. Your body's going to use your carbs first, okay? And then it's going to tap into those lipids. It can provide insulation. If you look at anything that lives in very cold water or cold climates, okay, you're going to find that it's going to have that layer of fat. So if you look at this one right here, blue, okay, that is actually, that's blubber, which is fat, okay? It helps keep them warm, all right? If you think back to your cell unit, we have the phospholipid bilayer. It's those lipids that actually help regulate the movement of water, all right, in and out of the cell, okay? And there were several other ones that we talked about, but those are the only ones that I apparently listed here, all right? In testing for a lipid, we use a brown paper bag or a paper towel, and I think you guys hopefully remember what happens with that one. What happens with that is you actually get a grease spot. That means that it is a positive test, okay? Get a good old grease spot. Okay, all right, proteins are huge, okay? And when you guys answer these questions on those tests, you're going to find that pretty much all the questions are going to be about a protein. So the elements present, they're not going to ask you that one, but what they are going to love here is they're going to love this, okay? You will get this question asked. I bet you money on it, okay? So the monomer of a protein is something called an amino acid. Now, I told you guys that they were held together by peptide bonds. I don't think that they're going to ask you that, but they will ask you about an amino acid, okay? So if you remember this, the Phi, Lu, Sur, Cis, think back to your protein synthesis. Hopefully you guys remember that one as well. Okay, we don't need to know that. We don't need to know that. Okay, the function of a protein is they're going to make up your structure and function of your muscles. Okay, we're aware of that. It's going to provide structure in hair, skin, and nails. Okay. It's also going to be in feather and hooves. Hemoglobin is inside of our blood, which is a protein. This is actually what the protein is, and it carries oxygen. Okay, so basically allows our blood to do our function. Its function. It's a protein. Okay, Insulin is huge. Basically, insulin is a protein, and what it does is that it kind of shoves glucose into our cells to break down. If we didn't have insulin, if you guys check out this right here, this is somebody who doesn't have insulin where the glucose is just floating around, and that can cause high blood sugar, okay? Makes your blood kind of like syrup. If you look right here, basically what it's doing is that it's shoving it inside of those cells right there, okay? And then our body can break that down there, okay? All right, the next one is enzymes. Enzymes are an example of a protein. They'll probably ask you this one as well. They love enzymes, okay? And we're going to talk about enzymes here in a second, okay? All right, if you guys think back to your cell unit, you got these proteins basically embedded in your membranes there, and they help things move in and out, okay? All right, if I were to give you a solution and say, what's in this? If you were to do a test for a protein, you would use something called Biurettes. Biurettes is my favorite one because I love the color change. Anybody remember the color change? Yes, it turns purple. It's really pretty. Okay. All right, so nucleic acids. This is the one where they're going to ask you the elements that are present, okay? So what sets this one apart is this is the only one that is going to have phosphorus inside of it, all right? So basically, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus, they're not going to ask you about the CHNO. Basically, they're probably just going to ask you which macromolecule has phosphorus, okay? They're also going to ask you about a nucleotide. In a review, I think it's EOC review 3, we're going to cover nucleotides again, okay? All right, polymer, who cares about that? Okay, functions of these, back up, okay? Nucleic acid, its main function is that it's your DNA, okay? That's the biggest thing about that. So basically it is your DNA. DNA is your genetic makeup, all right? It's also your usable form of energy. What's weird about that is, you know, I'm talking about glucose is a short-term energy source, but here's what's crazy is we eat food, right? We get the glucose in our system. We got to have insulin, which is a protein, shove it inside of our cells, right? And once we're inside of our cells, we got to break it down into ATP in order for us to use that, all right? Kind of a weird thing, but what's crazy is that you're doing it right now as we speak, okay? So we make ATP, which is a nucleic acid, all right? The last one is RNA, which is also a nucleic acid as well, okay? And we'll review the whole RNA thing too. Okay, all right, so that's biochem. This might be a good time to pause it, stretch a little bit, okay? And we're going to pick up with enzymes, but I'm going to keep talking. All right, enzymes. Enzymes are proteins, okay? You need to remember that. They're made up of amino acids held together by peptide bonds, okay? All right, now what does an enzyme do is that an enzyme is basically going to regulate or control all the chemical reactions inside of the cell. They're going to fuel all of that, okay? Any chemical reaction, which is basically a change, okay? And I think that's my next question here. It occurs when bonds are broken or formed. So it could be something as simple as digestion to making DNA, okay? So a bond's broken is you breaking down pizza, let's say, inside of your body. Formed is when we're making the DNA. What makes that possible is going to be enzymes, okay? All right, you start off with reactants, you end up with products, all right? Enzymes are biological catalysts. You need to remember this one right here. A catalyst is anything that's going to speed up a chemical reaction, all right? Now, if I were to give you just a regular, everyday example of a catalyst, let's see here, right here. What do you do to help sugar dissolve faster in tea? Okay, you can stir it. Stirring is an example of a catalyst, okay, where it speeds up that reaction, or you can add hot water to that. Hot water is the catalyst there. Now, if I were to just to put the sugar in the tea, it eventually would dissolve, right? Kind of like if I were to have the pizza inside of us, if you were to eat pizza, it would eventually digest. It would just take a long, long, long time, all right? These things speed it up, okay? It's called a catalyst. All right. Who cares about that? All right. So another characteristic is that enzymes have an active site, okay, and a binding site for substrates. All right. So enzymes are going to have this little puzzle piece right here, and substrates are what they're going to be breaking down. They got to fit into that puzzle piece. Okay. All right. So enzymes are site specific. One enzyme, one job. Okay. And that's going to be determined by the active site. Now I have a little video linked here. I'm not going to show it to you guys just because of time, but what you guys can do is with this PowerPoint, if you want to watch that to review that, download the PowerPoint and please watch it, okay? Because again, you know, the videos always help, all right? All right, how enzymes work. Okay, so this is probably what the EOC might do is you might get a picture like this and it might point to something and it might ask you what it is. Okay, so your enzyme will always be on the bottom. If you notice, the enzyme never changes. It can be reused over and over and over again. So that's our enzyme and our catalyst, same thing. Okay, right up here is going to be our substrate. That's what we're breaking down, or our reactant, what we start off with. Okay, so that's typically going to be up at the top. All right. Right here, this is representing our active site where it fits, okay? Now these two are going to come together. The substrate's going to match up with the active site of the enzyme, which leads to this structure right here, which is called the enzyme substrate complex, okay? So they combine together. Once I do this one, the enzyme actually can mold around that, okay? And can either break something down or form something, okay? And then eventually it's going to release what we call the product. So we start off with the reactant, we end up with the product. The enzyme can go back and kick butt and take names and do it again, okay? I have another video here, not sure what it is. Please feel free to go and look at it, okay? All right, so we can have certain things that can affect enzymes. All right, environmental effects. The first one is temperature. If you have a very high temperature, those high temperatures can actually denature the enzyme, okay? Which means that it causes it to lose its shape. If I were to come right here, this is my normal enzyme, active site, right? My substrate, what we just had there. If I were to add heat to that enzyme, if you check it out, it kind of looks like it melts it. So therefore it doesn't work, okay? That's why if you have a very high fever, that's very dangerous, okay? Because if your fever gets too high, you can actually denature the enzymes inside of your body, which is no bueno. You can die, okay? Neat stuff, all right? So that is a very high temperature. All right. If it's a low temperature, it's not going to denature the enzyme. If anything, it's going to slow everything down. Okay. Cold slows everything down. So if we slow everything down inside of our body, how we're breathing, how our heartbeat is beating, how we're consuming and breaking down food, your enzymes aren't going to be as active. Okay. I think the example I gave you for this one is that if you were to fall through the ice, you could actually stay under there alive for like 20 minutes, okay? And that's because you're not breathing. Now, again, please don't try that, all right? Please, please, please. Okay, pH can also have an effect on it. So huge changes in the pH of a solution, depending on what enzyme you are, can denature. Denature means that it's going to lose its shape, okay? And you can kind of see that in this little animation here. Here's the active site, the substrate. These H's here mean that it's an acid, okay? And you'll see that it'll just be like, bloop, okay? Now, it depends on the enzyme. You have some enzymes, like we have enzymes inside of our tummy, okay, inside of our stomach. Our stomach is extremely acidic. So those enzymes love being in very low pHs, okay? They're used to that. If we were to put them in an environment with a higher pH, they would denature, okay? And, you know, vice versa, all right? So to review pH, all right, they're not going to ask you a pH of 14 is what, but pH could be implied in a problem. All right, so just to review, our scale goes from 1 to 14, we have a 7. Okay, so from 1 to 6, this is my acid. The farther away you are from 7, that's the stronger the acid. The closer you are to 7, which is neutral, is going to be the weaker acid. Okay, so 8 to 14 is a base. Here's my weak base, my strong base. Okay, and this is going to be the neutral. Okay. All right, so like I said, I know that wasn't very, very, very exciting, but it works, okay? You watch this in class. You can always, it'll be linked to the wiki page in both spots. I'll link it to the calendar, and actually what I'm going to do for you guys is where you see all this stuff, I'll link the videos on the EOC page as well, okay? So you can go back and look at those if need be. What you're going to do now is that you're actually going to go through and you are going to spend some time answering these questions right here, okay? Spend some time answering those questions. Or, depending on what the lesson plan of the day is, please listen to the sub about that. I might instruct you to do this and then answer the questions, okay? Go through, do your best, answer these, okay? And we'll always check the answers the next day. Now, like I said, I showed you where all the answers were, okay? Defeat the whole point of this if you just go and copy it, okay? I imagine some of you guys will be. I'm not even taking this as a grade, okay? Please don't turn these in. Do not turn any of these in. Please hold on to them, okay? Please, 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 please do not give these to me, okay? These stay in your folder. But do your best. I'll give you the answers, and we'll go from there. Okay. I hope all is well. I miss you guys, and we're gonna bust through this. You guys are gonna kick butt on this test. I know you're probably nervous, but if you work hard on these materials, you're gonna do wonderful. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.